Can you touch a little bit more upon each of these four aspects with regards to companies can take baby steps towards adopting AI?
Strategy is the most basic thing for every business, right? Strategy, what is strategy? It's how you're going to win in the market, right?
Yeah.
And the market is changing every day. New things keep coming up. So your question on how one goes about executing, right? The four things that you mentioned, right? And what are those four things, right? When you look at what will you do with this new thing, if you want to do anything at all, right? Recompose your strategy, right? So then how you actually manage the process of this AI as well, that is also involved by. So it's not the technical piece, the process part of it, right?
I want to extend or talk about a little bit more about the people aspect. Should this be a bottoms-up approach when you're forming a strategy, or should it be a top-down approach, or should it be? We've seen with some of our customers that some of them have AI councils, whereas other customers are trying to have their own departments, run in silos and trying to see where they can fit AI in, or have some kind of a consultation done by a player like CRM-IT. So how do you see that, or does that really depend on the nature of the business and the industry it is? Welcome back, everyone, to our podcast Decoding Decisions. Paddy, thank you for joining us. Today we'll talk a little bit more on execution of AI.
Pleasure to be here, Vishal.
In the last episode, we spoke about how organizations or enterprises are yet to have clarity on what it takes to implement AI and where they would see immediate value. And fundamentally, there are four areas where four factors to consider, right? One being the business itself, the nature of the business. The second one being the people, the nature of the organization and the people that work for it. And the third part is processes, workflows, processes, which is a part of any organization. And the fourth is the technology itself. Can you touch a little bit more upon each of these four aspects with regards to how companies can take baby steps towards adopting AI?
Sure. I mean, at the outset, Vishal, every business must have a strategy. Strategy is the most basic thing for every business, right? Strategy, what is strategy? It's how you're going to win in the market, right?
Yeah.
And the market is changing every day. New things keep coming up, right? And some things keep going off, right? So AI, in that sense, is a new thing that's coming to the market. So in that sense, every business has to respond to this new product, new thing that's available in the market, right? So that's the basic common sense, right? So your question on how one goes about executing, right? The four things that you mentioned, right? And what are those four things, right? When you look at how do you respond, how do you incorporate, what will you do with this new thing if you want to do anything at all, right? With this AI, right? In your business, and then if you want to do something about it, if there's something needs to be done about it, there are choices that in some cases maybe the work need to be done. You can ignore it as possible. In some cases, perhaps
Delay it.
Yeah, you can probably delay it, right?
Okay.
In other cases, you have no option but to incorporate it. It's too close to your business, perhaps. So it depends on what your business is, right? So that's the other part of it. But so let's take the case where you want to incorporate it, right? You have to respond to it. It's a new entry in the market. You still have to recompose your strategy, right? So that's where your four things that you mentioned are relevant, right? The AI, as we understand it, right? It'll impact. It has to first make sense of the business. I'll come to that, right? As you said, right? And then on technology piece too. In short, to understand AI. So on these four things is how you want to understand AI before as you recompose your strategy and operate on it, right? So that's the four things. So four things are that whatever you do with AI, it has to be relevant to your business. That's the first thing, right? So nothing can be done for the sake of it. You can't do AI for the sake of it. That's almost foolish. That's not sensible in the world of economics, right? If your business is what your strategy is, right? So that's the first thing. So which means you have to really understand what this new thing is, what its capabilities are, and match it to what your business is. What is that you're doing, bringing to the market? For example, in our company, what does CRM bring to the market? So we have to match that, right? That's what it means to focus on business value first, right? And second, understanding the technology piece. So you say again, what is AI on the technical aspect? There are multiple things to be understood. For example, tech obsolescence is a very common aspect of what we understand AI today, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a pretty nascent technology, right? So there's a lot of R&D going on even now. It's not stable, like it's not mature, right? It's maturing, it's evolving, and it's a pretty very high evolutionary product too. It evolves rapidly as well, right? That's the nature of that product, right? So one needs to be aware of it. So you don't react. You're not reacting to what's available today. You need to have some long term sense of what this particular thing is. How it's going to evolve, right? You need to keep that, incorporate that in your perspective, status, right? That's example of what we mean by looking at the technical aspect of AI, right? And then there is again, when we say AI, what we're talking about today in the main is generative AI, right? But that is just the current dominant, popular, nice, friendly flavor of AI. But AI, as we spoke about last year as well, can also mean the previous version, which was all big data, machine learning, right? Just pure mathematical stuff, right? So, and sometimes I spoke about historically we've had expert systems, rule-based systems. So AI can be multiple things. So you have to have that context as well. At least in the context of the native AI, what can it do and what it can't do. Right? So that too is part of the technical aspect, right? And then the process angle, when we say, right, when you again, it is drawn from the technology piece of it, meaning how will you implement it? How will you execute it in your business? If you're going to decide as part of your analysis and strategy, you're going to incorporate it in your business. You want to bring it into your business, either into your own operations or into your product, whatever way you decide, right? Oh, it is not something you can just plug and play. It's not just another small component, right? So again, it's part of understanding this AI. You have to figure out, okay, how are you going to play with this AI? That's the process part as well, right? How you develop that, right?
Yeah.
The faculty needs, for example, right? It depends on data. This AI they talk about is heavily dependent on data. In the sense that readiness of data, right? And data is not static. It's every day you create new data, right? And some data becomes obsolete as well. So that is what we may process as well. How will you actually execute your AI in your business process, right? And how you actually manage the process of this AI as well. That is also involved by. So it's not the technical piece, the process part of it, right? And finally, of course, you found you have the right, reasonably right way to incorporate in terms of business value. You understand the technology and you know how to control it, manage it, the technical piece, right? And they've also sorted out your process aspect, right? How to build and operate the AI. But all that fundamentally still rests on the people, which is all businesses people end of the day, right? So, but what do we mean here when we say people, right? Uh, in AI, as we spoke about AI in particular, right? It's not a one small new product and you could just, it's not like a bulb, or it's not like a camera or a mic, right? It's something that permeates quite a lot of aspects of your business, right? Or the economy, right? So to say, right? As if you kept saying it's a more fundamental technology, like internet or lasers and so on, right? Uh, so when we say people, you need to know, okay, are your people ready?
Yeah.
Right? And how do you make people ready? Your current people, right? They're all playing certain roles. Today, you have an organization that's part of a strategy, right? Every strategy means you've organized your business in a certain fashion that are roles and responsibilities, duties, jobs, and job designs and tasks and job descriptions and all of that, right? So, when you want to bring this in, you need to revise and review that as well, right? And that is not done abstract. You need to, it is a people level thing, right? Who's going to be trained, what jobs will be replaced or they be redesigned. You're going to maybe design jobs, right? Job descriptions are going to change, right? So there's upskilling, reskilling, unlearning, relearning, right? That's the people aspect. And that will take time, that will take designing, that needs to be managed, right? And then the US, that's one aspect of the people side. And then the other part is, since this is a fundamentally new stuff, you have to keep maintaining this thing if you're going forward. So you need to also decide on people for the AI stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not simply you can just buy like electricity and just be done with it. You can't really. Typical today, we just plug in our electric items and we forget about it. We just plug it and use it, right? We don't care about what it takes to maintain these substations and generators and so on. That's not our problem. We just buy it, right? But then with AI, it's going to be part of your business, right? So you need to have people to run and maintain that stuff as well. So that's a brand new thing that you have to solve. So that's what we mean when we say, in the question, what are these four aspects, dimensions to keep in mind when you talk about executing AI? So each of those, are small small universes that need to collaborate it, right? Each of those have been kept in mind, right? And if we don't, if we ignore any one of this, it's more or less setting ourselves up for failure, because all these were relevant to actually have a successful response, a re-strategy with AI, right? So that's the other point. All four to be kept in mind.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's critical to understand that the readiness of each of these, right? Is the business ready for AI, the nature of the business, or are the people ready for AI, or the processes ready for AI, the data, for example, and also the underlying technology. Although it becomes a little bit um, relatively less important, I would say, in the whole scheme of AI, whether you're using a Microsoft product or whether you're using another XYZ enterprise product. But the whole idea is these three need to align well before, or at least you need to consider how you're going to go about aligning them before you actually think about executing AI strategy. But I want to extend or talk about a little bit more about the people aspect. Should this be a bottoms up approach when you're forming a strategy, or should it be a top down approach, or should it be, we've seen with some of our customers that some of them have AI councils, whereas other customers are trying to have their own departments, run in silos, and trying to see where they can fit AI in, or have some kind of a consultation done by a player like CRM IT.
Yeah.
So how do you see that, or does that really depend on the nature of the business and the industry it is in?
I think it's a very broad question, in the sense that I mean, every business has strategy, right? So in the main, I think it's hard to say with a new thing like AI, especially, for example, right? If I got a new kind of a bus today, right, in 2025, somebody invented, let's say, a brand new kind of a bus, not just another bus, but let's say some fundamentally new technique of a bus. It wouldn't be a very radical entry into the economy. Why? Because we understand what a bus is. It's a mass transportation, certain scale and so on. It still needs roads and whatever, right? So in that sense, each of our businesses in the economy, when they have to re-strategize, they have to respond to this new entry, it would not be a very huge deal, right? But I just gave that a counter example. Why AI, in comparison to that, is not just another bus. It's very fundamentally a different thing, right? And therefore, it's hard to answer your very important question. What is the right way to build our strategy, recompose, rewrite, review, revise our strategy, right, for every business, right? It's a green field, right? Yeah, everybody are finding their way, right? So should it run from the top, and should be bottoms up, right? Very valid question, but it's hard to pin down an answer. Why? Let's understand why, right? What do you mean by top bottom, right? That you have full understanding of this thing, right? Of this new thing that's come into the market, right? And its impact to you. So when you're very quite clear about it, then tops down is what you do automatically, because you have a reasonably decent understanding of what the thing is with regard to your own business, and therefore you can design it tops down, right? But if that's not the case, then you start doing experimentation, which is what you might call as a bottoms-up approach, right? So it also, therefore, in summary, it depends on what is your own understanding of it, one, and it also depends on to what extent that thing is also understandable. To what extent you understood is one aspect. The other aspect is to what extent the other thing is also understandable. Now, as we understand, AI on both these things, both are moving parts. It is not that the thing is a pretty stable. It's not just a new bus that has been introduced to the market, and all you have to do is figure out what a thing is, and it's also an evolving thing. It's a new thing, and it's a pretty big thing. It's like an octopus with 25 hands. It goes up everywhere, right? And it's also evolving. So it is understandable, but it is not fixable. You have to focus a lot. So there's a lot of unknowns there, right? And then to the extent you can understand, it's not a very new technology. It's not a very old one. It's about 5-6 years, let's say, at the most, maybe 7 years. So in that sense, you can comprehend, but it's also quite a deep product. It's a deep technology, right? So to even understand, you need some literacy, right? And you just can't take for granted. And you need to spend time. You need to have the expertise and all of that as well, right? So just to clarify the foundations, right? both those aspects are quite open, right? The product is not easily understandable by itself, and then you need to be capable to understand as well. So keeping that, I think you'll find if you simply survey toward Vishal, you will find half of them are probably doing a tops-down approach. Now the other half are probably doing, and both are probably valid in their own context. Because at least they're doing both. They're doing one of them, other than sitting quiet, because at least they're reviewing, revising their strategy. So
Yeah, correct. I think it also depends on how receptive different hierarchies of the organization are. Right? That's super important because if it starts from every at every level, if people are able to adopt it or able to at least brainstorm on how it can be valuable to their department or their business function, then it becomes a lot easier if it comes bottoms up, which is probably in some ways ideal, right? Because you wouldn't want management starting it off and pushing it down on every employee, and eventually it creates that sense of discomfort. Right? It is discomfort because it's a fundamental change, and eventually it's not something that's going to stay within one department, but rather spread across eventually. Because I've heard personally that a lot of organizations are questioning. This is more again on the software SaaS industry, or network industry, where they're questioning, why are you writing this piece of code rather than using AI to write it, right, and be more productive to do other things. For example, think about the design, think about what better you can do with the output. So as you said, it really depends, and also just wanted to.
But if I may address one point there, which you brought up, Vishal, which is that, okay, let's take an example which is relevant to our own company, right?
In fact, I was going to ask you the same question.
Right. We are an IT business. We are a systems integrator. So that's what we bring to the market. CRM brings to the market, right? Just to become one example, right? So let's say we take a bottoms-up approach, as we call that, right? So for example, if in CRM IT, we have an engineering team, the department which is focused on building delivery, as we call it, right? Which actually takes requirements of customers and builds things out. We build systems and solutions and integrations and all of that, right? We build code, right? Now there, for example, if we left it to be bottoms up, or rather retail, I'm going to use the word retail, right? Sure. Where each developer, each engineer in our company, we call them decision scientists today, if we left each of them to do it on their own, right? At some level, that might be a bit inefficient. I'll elaborate, right? Why? As normal in any business, and by CRM IT as well, the literacy of everyone in any given unit, in this case a delivery department, is not going to be the same. It's not homogeneous. It's always heterogeneous. There's a range of it, right? Now, if you really left it retail, the uptake, the incorporation of say generative AI, technology in the developers, in the engineers' day in the life of, right? It might be inefficient because each of them will incorporate it in the way that makes sense. But end of the day, it is the delivery department that produces product, that make a product to a customer. It is not Paddy's engineer or Vishal's engineers doing it. It's a product that the company makes together. So everything involves minimum 2, maybe 20, 30, 40 people, right? So it is never one person's job, right? And even if it were one person's job, right, it is not going to remain that person's job for all time to come. He or she is going to move on tomorrow and somewhere else, right? But we are in the B2B business. Things have to be maintained. Things have to sustain. Things have to be readable to somebody who takes over, right? So that's our business. We are an IT business, right? We are an engineering business, right? So we don't build throwaways. We have to build an IT. So we build things, we keep constantly building upon things, right? So even if hypothetically one person's job, it is not that person's job forever. Yes. He or she's going to start doing something else. Somebody's going to come and continue what they've done, right? On that basis, now if you take a step back, if you sow retail bottoms up, you might end up with such an amorphous collection of things, practices, right? And then it can become messy. Because these are with this pretty powerful tool, right? A co-pilot, as they call them, a teammate. And then you'll have, let's say we have 200 people, you'll have 200 teammates, right? Machines, right? And it might work for the first iteration, but then at a corporate level, at the product level, as you call it, it can be quite messy, because then you'll have this added problem of trying to figure out, okay, how to merge with teammates and so on, right? So that's an example, I would say, in our own business, right? Where a bottoms-up approach, yes, it has to be bottoms-up at the delivery department level, let's say. It has to be a department level, not at the individual engineer level, right? Right. So that's right. So there, if somebody might say, yeah, but that's the top down. Yeah, it's top down at the department level, but it's bottoms up. It is not coming from the CEO and downwards. It's not tops down that level. It's coming up from a department level, right? In that sense, it's bottoms up. So you should be a bit nuanced about what we mean there, depending on the context.
Right. Yeah. Right. It was an interesting discussion we had today on execution of AI, Barry. Again, thank you for sharing your insights. We hope this was helpful to many businesses out there trying to explore what AI means to them and how they can potentially even take baby steps towards executing AI. We are doing some interesting work as an organization, and it's always good to discuss this, in the forums for the benefit of the larger audience. So thank you for that.
It sure was, Vishal. Very tough, interesting questions is what you asked. It was a pleasure going through that.
How do you see us as an organization trying to assess some of these factors?
Okay. I mean, like you said, we are the IT business. So whatever we talk, our customers going to ask us, have you walked your talk?